Hello, today's BookTOB will be on the book On War by Carl Von Clausewitz, published mostly in 1832. The TOB itself is from September 21st, 2025. A little bit about the author. Carl Philipp Gottlieb von Clausewitz was a Prussian army officer and military theorist who stressed the moral and political aspects of waging war. This is definitely reflected in the book through reading it. He was very much into explaining the importance of supply lines, understanding the geography of the lay of the land. So he was pretty good at that. His most notable work, Vom Krieg, or On War, though unfinished at his death, is considered a seminal treatise on military strategy and science. Carl himself was born July 1st, 1780, I'm going to butcher this name, in Burg bei Magdeburg, Germany, and died November 16th, 1831, aged 51 years, in Warsaw, Poland. Again, probably butchering the name. I'm not Polish, British American over here, so that's about very Anglo-Saxon pronunciations. The book itself was quite dense, although short. A lot of good information in there, and it's very interesting to read a book on military practice and war and seeing how everything is playing out in today's society. One thing I did really enjoy about it was how he emphasized that when reading such books you need to take them somewhat with a grain of salt. Not all of it, of course, because it's a very notable, an important book on this topic, but he did emphasize that war does change. The famous saying is war never changes, but he definitely recognized that it did. Again, it's different aspects, the technology, strategies, the theories, maneuvers, different importance. The geography, of course, changes. Thus, that would change the type of war. You have to have everything good to go. You have to have a good knowledge of it. As I said earlier, the lay of the land. You got to have supply lines. Troops. They have to be willing. They have to be knowledgeable. There's a lot of good stuff in here, and I highly recommend it for those who would like to read it. I had read All Quiet on the Western Front previously because I thought, which I should have read this beforehand, but I wanted to read All Quiet on the Western Front before because I thought it would give this book sort of a why were the Germans, what were their tactics like, why their tactics were the way they were. And it's very interesting because it does reflect, how the main character in that book, fought, how the German side in World War I was, using heavy artillery to just absolutely decimate, the Allied forces, etc. So it's pretty good. He does like to talk about Frederick the Great and Bonaparte a lot because this was again during some of the the times of the Napoleonic Wars, in which I think he might have been part of. I should have done my research there. I'll probably I'll do some more there later. But it's a lot of good stuff, a lot of learning. Again, very interesting to see the type of conflict that we have now and the type of technology used now. Again, because he would say definitely use what is necessary to defeat the enemy. He was very into the political aspect. He knew the costs of war were large. War is cheap. If you think war is cheap, it's not. Fundamentally, there's always a cost. Cannons, muskets, food, armor, fortifications, and even in peace times. So I will now surrender the mic to the robot. I was thinking of reading the passages myself, but it's a lot. and I'm just trying to still figure out things with how I want to work this. So thank you very much for your patience, everyone, and off we go.
Passages from On War. 1. War is no pastime, no mere passion for venturing and winning, no work of a free enthusiasm, it is a serious object. 2. The war of a community, of whole nations, and particularly of civilized nations, always starts from a political condition, and is called forth by a political motive. It is there for a political act. 3. The three general objects, the military power, the country, and the will of the enemy. 4. The military power must be destroyed, that is reduced to such a state as not to be able to prosecute the war. This is the sense we wish to be understood hereafter, whenever we use the expression destruction of the enemy's military power. 5. The country must be conquered, for out of the country a new military force may be formed. 6. But even when both these things are formed, still the war, that is, the hostile feeling and action of hostile agencies, cannot be considered as at an end as long as the will of the enemy is not subdued. Also, that is, its government and its allies must be forced into signing peace, or the people into submission, for whilst we are in full occupation of the country, war may break out afresh either in the interior or through assistance given by allies. No doubt this may also take place after a peace. Still, with the conclusion of peace a number of sparks are always extinguished which would have smoldered on quietly, and the excitement of the passions abates, because all those whose minds are disposed to peace, of which in all nations and under all circumstances there is always a great number, turn themselves away completely from the road to resistance. 7. War is the province of danger, and therefore courage above all things is the first quality of a warrior. 8. Courage is of two kinds. First, physical courage or courage in presence of danger to the person, and next moral courage or courage before responsibility, whether it be before the judgment seat of external authority, or of the inner power, the conscience. 9. Courage before danger to the person is of two kinds. First, it may be indifference to danger, whether proceeding from the organism of the individual, contempt of death, or habit. In any of these cases it is to be regarded as a permanent condition. 10. Secondly, courage may proceed from positive motives such as personal pride, patriotism, enthusiasm of any kind. In this case courage is not so much a normal condition as an impulse. 11. War is the province of physical exertion and suffering. In order to not be completely overcome by them, a certain strength of body and mind is required, which either natural or acquired, produces indifference to them. 12. With these qualifications, under the guidance of simply a sound understanding, a man is at once a proper instrument for war. 13. War is the province of chance. In no other sphere of human activity is such a margin to be left for his intruder, because none is so much in constant contact with him on all sides. 14. As long as his men full of good courage fight with zeal and spirit, it is seldom necessary for the chief to show great energy of purpose in the pursuit of his object. 15. Everything is simple in war, but the simplest thing is difficult. These difficulties accumulate and form a friction which no man can imagine exactly who has not seen to war. 16. So in war, through the influence of an infinity of petty circumstances, which cannot be properly explained on paper, things disappoint us and we fall short of the mark.
All right, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully it wasn't too boring there. It might just be nice to play in the background, of course, as these things are. It's not everything start from finish, because I've thought, not to give... I'm not a fan of giving away free information personally, because I like to talk a lot, and a lot of people just sort of end up, in my experience, they like to siphon information from me, which kind of sucks. So I've kind of had a little bit of a defensiveness about that. But not to put anything down, just to say, read the book yourself. I hope that what you have heard has given you an interest. It's definitely a good read. It is dense, I will be honest with you. However, what I will say is as a dense book, the next stuff you read will fly by much faster. Of course, if you're reading going into fantasy. After this, I read Across the Nightingale Floor by Leanne Hearn, very quickly. Good story. I've got a short on that. If you'd like to watch that, it's on my channel. You don't have to, it's definitely not required. But yeah, again, thank you for watching. Read the book. There's a lot more stuff that I didn't cover or provide here. again, just so that you can sort of have a little taste of what you can achieve on your own. Anyways, thank you very much. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Stay blessed and stay hungry. Take care.